A very good evening to you from wherever you're watching us on this third day of April 2023. Trust that you're doing well. We have a lot in store for you, but first, the headlines. President Ruto and DP Gachagua meets parliamentary leadership as plans to set up bipartisan committee kicks off. Leaders commend Ruto and Odinga for putting the interests of the people first after agreeing to hold dialogue. Business in Nairobi's Central Business District resumes after Azimio weekly protest call off. And Sacred Heart Mukumu Girls closed indefinitely after death of 2 students due to food and water poisoning. Alright, Evans ODIHAMBO is our sign language interpreter tonight. I am ODIDA. Remember, today's Money Monday. We will be talking about investment opportunities in times of a crisis. Welcome to the broadcast. Now, President William Ruto today hosted the ruling Kenya Kwanza leaders from the legislative houses, that is the Senate and Parliament in State House, to establish a framework for the bipartisan strategy of selecting the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) commissioners. Okumu Modaki with that report.
Barely 24 hours after a press statement that resulted to a ceasefire from the political tension the country has witnessed in the recent past, President William Ruto now looks to quell further the skirmishes, beginning with a meeting with the leaders of parliament. The president asked the parliamentary leadership led by National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and his Senate counterpart Arun Cheruyot to consider his proposal for a bipartisan approach to address the issues raised by the opposition. The head of state further affirmed his belief on parliamentary approach to resolve the Azimio demand, stating that, and I quote, "We are convinced the issues shall be conclusively handled by parliament in order to allow us focus on our economic transformation program." This trajectory was arrived at by the president yesterday after a 2-week Monday and Thursday former Prime Minister Odinga-led anti-government protest that left some dead, several people injured, and disruption of businesses in the Kenya's capital Nairobi, with the bone of contention being high cost of living and reconstitution of IEBC, among other issues. President Ruto and the opposition chief Raila Odinga, in their respective address to the nation on Sunday evening, agreed on having a dialogue and finding a common ground to the Azimio demands. Kumu Modaki for KUTV, Nairobi.
Now, various leaders across the country have lauded President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga for choosing to hold dialogue and putting the interests of Kenyan citizens at the front. The leaders say the decision to have dialogue is a necessary milestone for peace restoration in the country.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga yesterday called off the anti-governmental protests which have been going on for 2 weeks across the country. Raila's decision came after the president called for the opposition to stop the protests in order to pave way for a dialogue.
It is in this context that we make this counter-offer to hold Ruto's call for dialogue.
I urge my brother Raila Odinga and the opposition to call off the demonstrations and to give this bipartisan approach a chance for us to take the country forward.
Following the agreement by the opposition leader and the president, different leaders have applauded the two for what they termed as statesmanship and patriotism. The U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman, while commending the two leaders, said that, and I quote, "welcome the agreement by President Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to establish a bipartisan process to find solution to benefit all Kenyans." End of quote. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on his part noted in part, "I salute Raila Odinga for calling off demonstrations and violence and choosing to pursue his issues in parliament," quote unquote. Other leaders including Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, Eugene Wamalwa, Cleophas Malala and Millicent Omanga also commended Odinga and the president, citing the decision as the best for Kenyans. In what was termed as creating an enabling environment for peace between the accused persons and the state, the Director of Public Prosecution Nurdin Haji also dropped the charges levied against the Azimio leaders including Opiyo Wandayi, Stewart Mazayo among others, who were arrested during the protests. In relation to the peaceful dialogue, the president today met with the Senate and the Parliament to discuss strategies to solve the issues raised by the opposition. Ruth Wanjiru, Fukeyu TV.
Businesses in Nairobi Central Business District were back to normal today after Azimio leader Raila Odinga called off the weekly protest to allow for dialogue in order to address the key issues the opposition raised, including the high cost of living. The traders are, however, calling on the two leaders to reach an understanding in order to avert more losses, especially in their businesses.
Businesses in the Nairobi CBD was back to normalcy after 2 weeks of being paralyzed by protests that had been organized by the opposition side Azimio la Umoja. However, a spot check by KUTV found out that despite the resumption of businesses as usual, sales being recorded by business owners are still low in what they say could be as a result of tension. Business persons say the planned mass action indeed affected them financially, and recovering from the lapse in their business might take time, and according to the traders, an understanding between the two leaders will prevent more losses.
Kama hiyo siku ya Monday, Tuesday, Monday na Thursday huwa hatukuwa tumefungua. Amani ni kitu ya maana. Kama leo naona kama leo tunaweza fanya kazi lakini furo iko chini ya kununua vitu.
For the goods looted and destroyed in the past 2 weeks of the demonstrations, the traders demanded that the government should find a way to have the traders compensated by the planners of the demonstrations.
Leo kasi iko sawa kwa sababu hii maandamano inatuharibia biashara. Leo naona gari yangu ndio inatoka na ninafanya leo imejaa. Leo last week tulikuwa tunakaa 2 hours kwa stage, hatupati msaada.
Hii maandamano imetuathiri sana pakubwa. Kulingana na biashara yangu, biashara imekuwa tukiumia, wateja wako. Difference ya leo at least watu wamejitokeza.
In Migori County, business owners also stated that their businesses were greatly affected by the weekly demonstration, but they were hopeful that things will get back to normalcy.
Sisi kama wanabiashara tulikuwa tunaumia kwa sababu biashara ilikuwa imerudi chini, pesa ilikuwa kuna, vitu zilikuwa zinaharibika. Lakini sasa natusikia hata Jacob Skurani kwa sababu yeye pia amekubali wito ya rais ili wakae chini wajadiliane.
Following Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga's statement calling off the planned mass action and giving the government a chance for a dialogue, business owners in Nairobi have expressed their joy for their businesses will now go on as usual. However, the business owners have requested the two leaders to come together to unite the country. Edward Nyamo, KUTV, Nairobi.
Now, away from that, Mukumu Girls High School has been shut down by public health officers following the death of 2 students after a diarrhea outbreak at the school. The outbreak saw over 124 students hospitalized at the Kakamega County General Hospital last week in a suspected case of food and water poisoning. Here's Ruth Wanjiru with that report.
For the past 1 week, Mukumu Girls High School has been hitting the headlines following a bacterial infection that saw the death of 2 students and over 500 students affected. According to Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza, the school will be closed to allow students get better and for investigations of the root cause to be determined by the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI.
It's in the interest of the child and interest of our school. We would want our children to learn in a safe and clean environment. And we also would not want them to miss their lessons for a long time.
Although health officers have not completely solved the infection puzzle, preliminary investigations show that the students were affected by bacteria as well as what is assumed to be food poisoning. Kakamega Senator Boni Halwale, while commenting on the situation, said that they have established that the school uses water from Lake Victoria, which might be the cause of the infection. The senator also blamed the past administration for failing to deal with the infection the last time it occurred.
Investigated the issue last year, made findings, made recommendations, but those findings were not acted upon, and this is why this has recurred.
This is not the first time the school is facing an infection outbreak, as last year 2 students lost their life to what the doctors termed as a cholera infection. About 25 students are still receiving treatment at the Kakamega General Hospital, with one of them critically ill in the intensive care unit. Ruth Wanjiru for KU TV.
Now, President William Ruto has asked Africa to make concerted efforts to win the war on climate change, noting that the continent is disproportionately affected by its adverse impacts. The president said this during the Greening Judiciaries in Africa Regional Symposium at Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi today.
While addressing the attendees of the 3rd Regional Symposium on Greening Judiciaries in Africa at Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi today, President William Ruto's major concern was efforts to battle the climate change in the Africa continent.
The looming climate disaster is particularly tragic for Africa, which is entering a new, promising era of peace and prosperity as the continent of the future. Many vital indicators affirm that indeed Africa is rising, powered by its youthful population, energy, resources, and hope.
The president said that the institutional reconfigurations and economic resets emanating from this change will install Africa as the world's green economic superpower, at the same time noting that Africa is focused on tackling poverty and inequality, that path of pollution is not an option.
Africa is abundantly endowed with all the resources required to power green industrialization. Our clean and green power potential is incomparable. Just to give you indications, 92% of our grid in Kenya is clean and green.
Chief Justice Martha Koome lauded the president for the reforms he has initiated to transform the country's environment, pledging the commitment of the judiciary to the cause of environmental justice.
This is indeed a sign of all our unwavering commitment and dedication to the cause of environmental justice.
Other leaders who graced the occasion, including Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, retired CJ David Maraga, and Chair Africa Judicial Education Network on Environmental Law Justice, Nambitha Ndambuza, also emphasized on the role of judiciary in environmental conservation.
This is an extremely important conference on strengthening the capacity of judiciaries across the region.
I'm happy, Chief Justice, that at last it is come and you've been able to host this meeting here. We are delighted to have all of you here. May God bless you.
Thank you. Ordinarily, judicial officers do not take initiatives to act on their personal observations, but we cannot feign ignorance to the devastation that we witness. It is our responsibility.
President Ruto's government has in the recent past rolled out plans to avert the climate change effects that has adversely affected the country and the continent Africa at large, resulting to loss of human and livestock lives. Kumu Modaki for KU TV, Nairobi.
All right, we are taking a very fast short break at this point. Of course, we still have more in store for you, so stay with us.
Welcome to Children's Corner. Welcome to
Children's Corner.
Children's
Corner.
Kipindi hewani ni mitindo ya kipwani. kama ilivyo kipindi hiki kinahusu nyimbo za tarab, chakacha, midwara, midundiko, bila kusahau mapishi ambao ndio uti wa mgongo wa pwani ya Afrika Mashariki.
Jamani, swaibu zangu mliopo maskani, hatuonani wenzangu, najua mwanitamani.
Hapa KUTV, nahodha mwendesha chombo cha baharini, yani ua linalolukia na kuvutia waridi tamu.
Kurunzi ya kilimo huimarisha afya na uchumi endelevu katika jamii. Ni msingi mkubwa wa kipindi Boresha Kilimo.
Utafiti na ushirikishaji wa wadau wa kilimo kuonyesha shughuli mbalimbali shambani. Kwa suluhu ya utoshelevu wa chakula, tazama Boresha Kilimo.
What's up, fashionistas? Looking for a show that brings you the latest in the world of fashion, glamour, creativity, and style? Fashion Diaries got you sorted as we explore street fashion, modeling, runways, red carpet events, and so much more.
Catch me, Ashley at Sachi, as we unlock the greatest fashion event. Keep it locked.
Mesha kuja. Yes? Elizabeth. They can't. Hi, habari ya jioni. Hatukuoni jamani, hatukuoni. Martin, simski. Yeah. Okay, but now a photo can't do because now our viewers would love to also see your face. Sorry? I think you can just find a stable position to put it, or where are you? So Martin, what do you suggest? Sorry, what are you using? Okay, you can try it with your phone then. Sawa sawa, no problem.
Hello everyone, this is the new chapter of Let's Be Fit. I'll be host DiCaplo. I'm here to give you various workouts. I'll be having different trainers. We'll have Zumba classes, we'll have aerobics classes, we'll have box exercise, we'll have kata box. Just name them.
Cairo, kwani
a loving husband and father. Nothing is too good for my daughter. An ambitious businessman with a dark secret. A girl with a whole life in front of her, plunging into a marriage that she did not choose.
Elizabeth, kindly weka kwa landscape, not portrait. Ndio tukuone vizuri. Hapo sasa, hapo kabisa. Wachia tu hapo. Tunakuja sasa. Okay. Tunakuja sasa hivi.
Seductive, dangerous. She is a predator. Everybody wants it. They will do anything to get it. Love and wealth.
All right, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. It's time for discussion of the night. Today is Money Monday. Keep that in mind. Now, economic crises happen from time to time and recessions occur. There has been an identifiable crisis such as war, specifically the Russia-Ukraine war, which has caused markets to suddenly drop. Tonight, I am joined by Elizabeth Waithake, a money coach, as well as a personal finance literacy trainer, to help us decipher how one can invest in times of crisis. Karibu sana, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Okay, maybe you can just tell us now. I'm sorry about that. Tell us who is Elizabeth?
Okay, Elizabeth is a finance specialist, a personal finance literacy trainer. A money coach. I am on a mission to help people put order in their money by investing right, being able to save right, being able to relate with their money the right way. So that's what I do. I also teach children about money. Children, teenagers, young adults. Actually, they are my specialists.
Okay.
To cultivate positive money habits from another age so that they can enjoy a lifetime of financial well-being.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm also an author. I've written a few books on personal finance and on business.
Now, let's just get to our discussion of the night, economic crisis. What's an economic crisis, Elizabeth?
Economic crisis is something that we have experienced as a country, as an economy. And it's a situation where an economy or a country passes through a sudden decrease of their focus. And it's usually, an economic crisis is usually brought about by a financial crisis. So the question comes up is today, what is a financial crisis that causes an economic crisis? And a financial crisis is a situation where asset prices drop steeply. And when I talk about asset prices, assets are those items or things, investments that people hold in order to make money. So in a financial crisis which causes an economic crisis, these prices, the prices of these assets, they fall steeply. Businesses and consumers, they cannot pay their debts, their ability to pay our loans goes down. Financial institutions experience liquidity challenges because now we are not paying our debts that we have borrowed, because now we are experiencing challenges because the economy is going through a crisis. We are not able to pay our debts, so then our financial institution experience challenges. Small businesses, large and small businesses and huge businesses experience a decline in sales and hence profit. So it is really a ripple effect, one thing causes something else, but it is actually caused by a financial crisis, yes.
All right. Now, maybe what are some of the signs that economic crisis, is in the horizon?
Well, some of the signs that an economic crisis is looming somewhere in the background. Is there organizations, individuals, businesses, small and large, they are not able to access credit, corrections. Just like I've said, we are not able to pay our loans. So as a result, corrections go down. So when the corrections go down, businesses going down, bankrupt, businesses closing down. There is massive layoff of staff in organizations. Prices just go up, the consumption is low, the demand for items go down because now the people's purchasing power has gone down. So those are some of the signs that will tell you an economic crisis is looming in the background.
Mm-hmm. All right, now the business sector, sorry?
Those are just some of them. There are many more.
Oh, okay. Now the business sector is wide. In your knowledge as a financial literacy coach, what are some of the business sectors that are hit hard by economic crisis?
Okay, the business sectors hardly hit by the economic crisis is mostly to start with the retail sector, because now we have been laid off from our organizations. We are not working. Maybe we are experiencing challenges with salaries. We are not able to pay our loans. Our purchasing power is down. So the retail sectors where we buy things in small scale, they are hardly hit. The hotels, now because we are not going to work, there are challenges. We are not buying food. We are not going out for dates, outings, and such. So hotels also are very hardly hit. I've said because we are not able to pay our loans, the ability goes down. Financial institutions are experiencing liquidity challenges. So as a result, also the financial institutions, they are highly affected. So I've said hotels, I've said retail sectors, I've said tourism now because we are not going out, it becomes a problem. And the one most highly hit is the real estate, because now we are not able to afford the price, the lands, and the housing, because we cannot pay our loans, houses. And the large people are willing to let them go because now they are not able to service the loans that we used to buy these, and they are heavy investment, they are high capital investment assets. So people are willing to sell, so everybody is just selling. So the supply goes up so much, all the demand is going down. So as a result, the real estate sector is highly hit. Investments, those of us who do investment is our core business. Now investors, because of the anxiety and the fear and the panic that is in the economy, it becomes hard for the investor, and they start maybe withdrawing, they start going slow. So also the investment sector is highly hit. So those are the industries that we can say the economic crisis affects more than others. Yes.
All right. Now, what are maybe the possible business gaps existing due to economic crisis that one can take advantage of?
The possible business gaps that businesses can take advantage of is getting into, number one, I would say getting into the e-commerce spaces, being able to run your business digitally, like you don't have to have a physical location. And even if you have a physical location, capitalize on the e-commerce. And there is now, because everybody is online, especially with the smartphone, you are able to reach out wider by taking your business into the e-commerce spaces. So that is one of the spaces, being able to operate digitally, people working from far, so that from home, to reduce costs, For hotels, and hotels are highly hit, it is good to have ways, because there is those people who cannot work from home, they must be physically present. It is important for hotels to be able to implement ways to deliver food to the people wherever they are, instead of waiting for people to come sit in the hotel, just deliver the food. Either way, as a business, to be able to reduce your costs one way or another, With the marketing, this is not the time for businesses to cut on their marketing costs, because it is usually a temptation for businesses to cut on marketing. Now, because there is anxiety and people are not buying as much because their power has gone down, so there's the possibility of getting into anxiety, and the marketing budget going down. So it is something that the businesses should avoid. Take advantage of this time to be able to reach far and wide. There's also the upside of outsourcing. A business can take advantage of the outsourcing space, like do not do everything. What is not core for you, you can outsource it as a business, and it helps you be able to manage, especially such unprecedented times when there's a looming economic crisis. Yes.
All right, now that we have tackled what an economic crisis is, what are some of the common mistakes that you have observed most business persons make during economic crisis?
The common mistakes that businesses make. Number one is the panic, because now the information is out there, the media is talking about economic crisis, social media, mainstream media. There is the temptation for business leaders to panic and get into anxiety, suffer from anxiety. That one is a very major mistake that businesses make. At a time like this, is the time to just stay calm, Do not allow the panic or the information that is flowing out there, the noise. We call it the noise, Don't allow the noise to get into you. Remain calm. Take control, Do not just lay off staff without a clear plan. And that is also another mistake. Apart from the panic, there's the temptation to lay off staff by organizations. They want to cut on the number of staff who are working as a way of cutting costs. What businesses forget is that staff are the biggest resource in an organization, even to help you survive an economic crisis, So avoid the mistake of just laying off staff without a clear plan, Find other ways of managing costs and let laying off staff come last, because it is the staff who help you. If you lay off staff and you have a fleet of vehicles there, the fleet of vehicles will not help much without people to operate them, for example. And because we are getting into the e-commerce spaces, even the delivery costs, we are outsourcing them. So then we are able to manage costs in other ways. There's also the mistake, and this one I don't know if I'll say it in Swahili. The Kodo mentality. It is called herding. People look at what is happening, what are other businesses doing, and then they follow suit without looking at the uniqueness of your business. That the herding mentality for business leaders is something to really avoid. The other mistake that businesses make is cutting on the marketing costs. Now, because the sales are low, the profits are low, we cut so much on the marketing costs. Let us look at the other costs of a business and try to manage from there. But the issue of marketing, going out there, spreading word that you are doing this, you're offering this solution, that one should be on a top gear, because that is what will help you recover. People will keep knowing that this XYZ organization offers this service, they provide these goods in a cost-friendly way, and that way the word goes around. The possibility of you not going down completely when your marketing strategy, your marketing budget, your advertising is going on, you stand a higher chance. Yeah. So those are some of the mistakes. There's also the mistake of businesses focusing on not focusing on their vulnerabilities. Every business knows where it is. We are strong, where we are not very strong. At this time, it is time to focus on where, as a business, you are vulnerable. Yeah, so that you avoid that vulnerability driving you much more down. Yeah, this is not the time for businesses to focus on all their lines of revenue. It's time to go through on the revenue streams that really do not do very well. Yeah, it's time to evaluate your revenue streams. If selling, if outlet, if retail is your strongest revenue stream, please focus on that one. Do not focus on everything, because now we are finding a way of managing, of being able to mitigate this economic crisis so that it doesn't take our business down. So it's time to focus on your revenue stream. Don't run with everything. You could pick 2 or 3 of your streams that bring you more income as a business person, and really learn with those ones, and it will help you survive as a business. Yeah.
Right now you have it. That is Elizabeth Waithaka, a personal financial literacy trainer, and she says, as a business person, focus on the things that bring you more income. This is in times of crisis, to manage your finances properly. Thank you so much for making time for us, Elizabeth, and we are taking another short break at this point, so stay with us.
Focus on Health is a show that creates awareness on matters health and informs you on various diseases, their causes, treatment, prevention, coping, and support. So join me, Bari Michelle, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. only on KUTV. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at KUTV Focus on Health on Facebook and also on YouTube, and Health Focus on Instagram, because your health is your wealth. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
All right, welcome back. That was a discussion on investment in times of crisis with Elizabeth Waithaka. Let's continue with our coverage. Now, Kirinyaga County has launched a major vaccination exercise to prevent the spread of rabies disease in the county. The county says that there has been a surge in the number of stray dogs and cats, thus necessitating an urgent vaccination drive.
An annual vocational exercise to fight rabies in Kirinyaga County has been launched by County Executive Member for Agriculture and Livestock Development, Dr. John Gachara, at Kangai Ward in Mwea constituency. The exercise targets to vaccinate about 5,000 dogs and cats across the county with an aim to protect the residents from the killer disease.
We want to start our annual exercise
for the prevention, for the vaccination of dogs and cats, on prevention of rabies. This exercise will be succeeded with another exercise for foot and mouth for livestock, which will take place in the month of May.
Director Livestock Veterinary Services and Fisheries Dr. Richard Gichangi says rabies is a neglected zoonist disease that is nearly always fatal in humans if appropriate preventive measures are not taken after exposure, and therefore they need to carry out a sensitization campaign in all the 20 wards so as to ensure the exercise is successful.
And we are responding because we have received reports of increased cases.
The residents thanked Governor Anne Waiguru's administration for the interventions to ensure there is safety, and a similar vacation exercise for foot and mouth disease targeting livestock is expected to start in May.
Tumeleta mbwa hapa sababu zinauma watu na kuna shida watu wanakufa.
Researchers show that globally rabies cause approximately 60,000 deaths annually, mainly in developing countries, with one person dying of rabies every 10 minutes. More than 95% of human deaths occur in Africa and Asia, and children below 15 years of age are the greatest risk of rabies exposure. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
Now, Mombasa Governor Abdul Swamad Sharif Nassir has decried delayed disbursement of the county revenue allocation, leaving residents of Mombasa at risk of exclusion from critical services. Nassir, however, noted with concern that counties were yet to receive monies from the national government since the beginning of the year.
As we begin the month of April, this will be the fourth month we have not received any funding from the national government. This is according to Mombasa County Governor Abdul Swamad Sharif Nassir during an iftar fundraising dinner for the construction of mosque and madrasa for Jomvu community.
Haiwezekani kaunti ziweze kuenda miezi 4 bila pesa. La kwanza, la pili, tunasikia kwa pesa zililiwa pale. Hata sisi hapa tunaenda bila fedha miezi 4, lakini tunalipa bili za taa, tunalipa mishahara, tunalipa stima, tunalipa petroli.
According to the governor, this leaves the residents of Mombasa County at risk of exclusion from critical services. Sharif Nassir has, however, said they have strived to ensure service delivery to Mombasa people using the little revenue collected.
Uongozi si lawama, uongozi ni kuchukua jukumu na kuweza kutatua. Na lazima tuongee. Serikali kuu isiwe katika mstari wa mbele kuua ugatuzi.
Last December, Mombasa County signed a memorandum of understanding with the Kenya Commercial Bank to help them deal with the issue of salary delays after a series of protests from county staff demanding full pay.
Lakini ni lazima tuzungumze haki za watu wetu, na si sawa ugatuzi kuweza kuuliwa kwa sababu fedha zinazuiliwa kuweza kufanya mengine, yani hawa watu wetu hawawezi kufaa hizi pesa, sio?
Leaders have, however, been urged to unite and deliver for the people, even as counties face a cash crunch. For KUTV, Mutegi K. Martin.
All right, now with tension between the US and China on the rise, how are people in other countries viewing what's been dubbed a new Cold War? Here's VOA's Ahadian Utama with that report from Jakarta, Indonesia.
When given the choice between the major world powers of US and China, most citizens of the 10 countries that make up the Associations of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, preferred the US. Increased US engagement in the regions is behind this shift, say researchers at the Singapore-based ISEAS Yusof Ishak Institute.
Biden administration. In the last year, the Biden administration appointed an ambassador to ASEAN. So that is one level of commitment that makes him quite appreciated in ASEAN. Then last year, the US also launched IPEF. IPEF gave hope to ASEAN countries that the US is back.
The US launched the IPEF, short for the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, in May 2022, not long after the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership favored by China went into effect. In its poll on the state of Southeast Asia released in February, the Isyas Yusof Ishak Institute found that of more than 1,300 respondents, 61% preferred the US to China, while 38.9% preferred China. The previous year, the US had a smaller lead at 57%, compared with China 43%. Negative sentiment toward China was higher in countries with which it is engaged in territorial disputes.
This can be seen in Vietnam and the Philippines. If they are asked to choose between the US or China, these two countries will definitely choose the US, because these two countries have the most intense disputes in the South China Sea against China.
However, in ASEAN's Muslim majority countries, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia, China has the lead.
It's because ASEAN's Muslim countries still harbor negative sentiments towards the US, which is seen as still on Israel's side in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
But even in those countries, unease about China lingers, especially on security issues, and respondents didn't favor siding with China at the expense of relation with the US, says Siska Prabawaningtias, an analyst at Paramadina University in Jakarta, Indonesia.
Indonesia should not get carried away with concerns like, if we decided to cooperate with China, it means we're part of their gang. That's not the way to think. We are working with China because we have common interests.
Beside the US and China rivalry, this year's Isyas Yusof Ishak Institute survey also measures Southeast Asians' view on the Russian invasions of Ukraine, which most respondents condemn. Ahadian Utama, VOA News, Jakarta, Indonesia.
Now, Zimbabweans in the agriculture sector are dealing with the rising fertilizer cost and poor rainfalls due to climate change. Now, some are turning to organic farming and conservation agriculture to make ends meet, and officials say they are making progress against the odds. Columbus Mavunga has more from Mashava, one of Zimbabwe's most drought-prone districts.
Zimbabwe farmer Nelson Mudzingwa says he hasn't used non-organic fertilizers for his trees and plants for 10 years. Instead, he depends on animal manure and dead leaves to fertilize the soil for his crops and fruit trees. He says sustainable farming that works with nature, known as agroecology, is cheaper, and that's not all.
We need to save our soils. The soils are very important for us because they produce food for us, and they must be fed, and they must continue to live, not to die as a result of our intervention. We will not need to poison our soils. We would want to feed our soils with organic material that we collect from our farms.
In this dry area, Mudzingwa harvests rain to ensure he has enough water for his plants and animals. Joseph Mandinyenya is an agroecology specialist with the non-profit development group Voluntary Service overseas. He has trained about 400 farmers in agroecology as the threat of climate change grows.
It can actually climate-proof the negative effects of climate change. Also, the agroecology produces healthy foods, and it also makes use of the naturally available resources that are within the farmer's proximity.
Zimbabwe's government hopes agroecology soon moves to other dry areas to ensure food security in those households. Godfrey Chipinda is chief economist in Zimbabwe's Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, Climate and Rural Development.
it also in support with the program that we are implementing as government, which is conservation agriculture from Vudza into Asa. And I think it comes at the right time where we are preaching a message as a government that we need to restore our ecosystem. We need to test our soil. We need to make sure that everything that we do is agroecology.
Officials say the sustainable farming plan called the Pfumvudza Inkwasa program can help Zimbabwe withstand the effects of climate change like drought. And with the high cost of fertilizers and irrigation, the government is pushing for more Zimbabweans to use agroeconomy to ensure they have enough food in the future. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Mashava, Zimbabwe.
All right, now in sports, junior golfers in Kenya have asked for more inter-schools tournaments in order to attract more competition for the US Kids Golf Series. The first of 3 inter-schools tournaments was held on Friday, March 31st, 2023 at the Windsor Golf and Country Club with almost 20 schools represented. Series sponsors NCB Group are back after seeing growth in the last season. Assistant Marketing Director Jackie Mohatia says the tournaments are bearing fruit from what is happening in the events. The players were speaking after the 4th leg of the 2023 US Kids Golf Spring Local Tour at the 18-hole Windsor Golf Hotel and Country Club in Nairobi. 144 junior golfers who range from 5 years old, 18 years old, were in the competition. In some of the results, Mwathi Gisheru was in a class of his own to win the 12-year-old category with 76 strokes. He beat Aiden Gashora, who finished second, and Andrew Gethere in third position.
I mean, last year we've seen the kids who've qualified, who have been given entry to the international games. We saw a lot of participation from across Africa, 12 nationalities coming in. We've seen in the selection, a lot of the faces that you see in the national team that have been selected definitely did in one way or another participate in our events. And also seeing cross-section of juniors across both the handicapped and unhandicapped, just getting excited and getting interested in the game. And also just a lot more talkability. People are now beginning to sort of open up to the opportunities that exist in golf.
All right, that brings us to the end of our bulletin tonight. Many thanks indeed for keeping us company. Let's talk about the state of the nation tomorrow. Still with me. My name is ODIDA. Sign language interpreter tonight is Evans ODIAMBO. Have yourself a good night.